Hey guys, so I'm doing another Swiss Army knife review. This one again by Victorinox, probably the only brand of Swiss Army knife you're going to see from me. And this happens to be the Pioneer. It's one of the ALOX models that Victorinox does. And the main difference is, one, there's no back tools on this as compared to the Spartan. Come on, quit doing that. No back tools as compared to the Spartan, and it has aluminum oxide handle scales instead of the stainless steel / plastic ones that the Spartan does. It's very strong, very torsionally resistant, and ever so slightly thinner than the same number of levels plastic handled ones. So the Spartan has 2 levels, 2 layers. This has 2 layers. This is ever so slightly thinner. So this is actually the knife that I carry in my pocket as a pocket knife instead of a keychain. The knife blade is, well, the overall size is 3.5 inches. It weighs 3 ounces, which is about the limit, I think, for an in-pocket knife. If you start getting heavier than 3 ounces, you get it pulling on your pants in weird ways, and it prints really badly, and it's uncomfortable to carry. Over 3 ounces, I think you should either have it in a clip or in a belt sheath. Some people are much more not capable, but comfortable carrying a lot of weight in their pocket. I don't like a whole lot of weights in my pockets. Like them clipped or on a sheath. So this is about the limits to what I will carry as far as weight is about 3. It actually says 3.2 ounces and 3.5 inch handle. So the blade is a larger, beefier version of the Spartan blade. Same steel, same blade shape, just like I said. Great corrosion resistance, a little softer, but it makes it really easy to sharpen. Takes a fine edge, just doesn't hold it very long. It starts a lot thicker down here than the Spartan does. Come on, focus. And then again, distal tapering to a very fine point, full flat grind. Very good nail nick. If you don't have very strong thumbnails or fingernails, you might not, you probably won't be able to open this knife very easily. Sorry guys. Standard, no, not that one. Standard can opener configuration. Like I said, this is a great can opener, great scraper. If you have to scrape a little something off of, I don't know what, but really good, like some paint off of, or sticky off of a window. This is really good, getting there. Again, same steel, same corrosion resistance, very corrosion resistant tool overall. Has a small Phillips driver, which also works as a smaller version of the flathead driver, because the flathead driver on this knife is relatively large. I'm going to back you up here a little bit. No? Okay. Okay then. So, here's that. And then again, the flathead driver has a very good nail nick. Comes out on the non-shielded side, and this is a larger version of the the bottle opener rather, and flathead driver of the Spartan. Little bigger, little beefier. The whole knife is a little bigger, a little beefier, more sturdy feeling. This is actually larger. This and the knife blade are larger than on the standard size Victorinox tools. This makes it just a lot easier to put a lot of torque into it. These are very torsionally resistant. They're full, they're not skeletonized or anything. It's a full piece of aluminum, so it makes it really easy to start twisting on it, and it holds up very, very well. Same bottle opener, works great. Flathead driver, a little bit thick. So while it might be strong for prying, it might be strong for really tightening down those screws, it might not fit in all the screws you need it to. I think that's why they kept the can opener standard size, because you can still get to some of the smaller screws that honestly don't need to be torqued as much. And then this is actually kind of a throwback to the Scout pattern knife, where you have a knife blade, a bottle opener, a can opener, and an awl. And it was kind of a Boy Scout carry stout. It was actually maybe not designed for the Boy Scouts, but the Boy Scouts are famous for having that style of knife, and and hence they probably ended up calling it the Scout model, the Scout pattern rather. And the awl is really nice. I like that it's inline instead of on the back as in the Spartan, which means it's a lot easier to use it to scrape a ferro rod. It's a lot easier to pierce material with it. It's a lot easier to drill with it. I mean, overall, it's a lot easier to use because now you have your whole hand on the handle instead of trying to like put it between your fingers and push and pull. And this is just overall much more ergonomic use of the tool. And instead of a nail nick, it actually kind of, close that, kind of comes across the scale, has a fold over. Let me see if you can focus. Thank you. It has a fold over onto the scale. I'm not sure if you can kind of see that. You can kind of see it better there. See, it folds over. That's actually part of the awl, not part of the handle. So it folds over and you use that to open up the tool. The springs are very strong. They're very thick, and they're not quite bear traps. I mean, there's a strong pull. I haven't cleaned this in a while. It lives in my my pocket, so probably not the cleanest actions in there. But the walk and talk is good. It's smooth opening, it snaps open, smooth closing, snaps closed. Very good. No side-to-side movement. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of down movement because it's a spring, not a lock. But the back springs work very well. You probably need to clean them. Make sure they're free of lint so they actually do snap in. And just keep the whole action clean of lint. I actually don't oil this knife a whole lot. I'll put a little bit in. I'll hold it down. I'll help both tools open, and I spray just a little bit of either WD-40 or 3-in-1 into that pivot point. Every once in a great while, I'll shake it out. I'll rub as much. I'll try to get as much of that out as possible because I just want a little bit of lubricant. You probably could use a little better if you have one of the single droppers, and just put it right there into the pivot point instead of spraying in, because if you put a lot of oil into slip joints, into any knife action actually, but especially slip joints, that'll get gummy and then it won't open or close as smoothly as it should. And that's actually probably that's actually pretty good. Which one is it? It's this one. This one actually has the strongest spring on it. It has a half stop, so there's tension on the spring, but it's essentially locked in place, and then you have to push forward for it all the way through. But this is a little gummy, so you need to clean your knives. You need to get all that lint and gunk out of the pivot points and clean all the lint out from living in your pocket. And keep your knives sharp, you know, because you're using them. Oh, there's an engraving plate here that you can see I actually did carve my name into. See if it will focus good long enough for you to actually see it. Nope, it doesn't want to focus. But there's an engraving plate there, so if you want to engrave it to someone, if you engrave it to yourself, just say, hey, you know, that is my knife. There's something to do that there instead of having to engrave it on your blades or something. There's only two complaints I have. One, I think the knife blade should have a half stop, because then if you're using it and it ends up folding on you, which can honestly happen in normal use if you're like pointing into something, if you're stabbing into something, you know, just kind of, and then it just goes down. I would really like to see a half stop on Victorinox's blades. Not a real big deal because the spring is strong enough to hold it open. I'm not real worried about it. When I use it, I don't even think about it. Just a little niggle. I also just plain like half stops on knives, so you know, no worries. And then this bail. It's not a bail. A bail would be a loop of steel that goes from this pivot over the end of the knife and then onto that pivot. I would think that would be a lot more ergonomic and just a lot cooler looking, especially because it is kind of a modern throwback to a scout style knife, to have a full-size bail instead of this little keychain. The keychain doesn't really bother me because I don't really hang a whole lot of stuff off my knives. That's just there because I don't want to lose it. But the problem I have is when you have either the knife blade or the can opener open, right? Yeah, can opener. And you start using it in like a fist or even just like this, that little metal piece starts digging into your palm. And it's not that big of a deal, especially, you know, most of our EDC tasks, we're using the knife for all of, what, like 20 seconds? Not a big deal. But if you do use it as a woods knife, which I do, it can get rather uncomfortable after you're carving for a while, or you're, you know, drilling for a little while. It just, or you're using the awl like this, you're pulling up, and that just digs in your finger, or it digs in your thumb, and it just gets in the way. It's rather uncomfortable, and I think a bail would be much more aesthetic and ergonomically pleasing on this knife, and I'd pay the extra like $5 it would take to put on. I'm probably going to put a link down below of a thread on blade forums, which I am a member of, and if you like knives at all, I think it's a great place to learn and just kind of geek out about knives with people who understand why you want to buy, you know, either a couple dozen of these of different patterns, because there are different patterns of this. This isn't the only A-locks. There's the full-size A-locks pattern, and then there's a smaller pattern still in A-locks, and there's a bunch of different patterns within those two size ranges. But, you know, having a couple of these, having a couple of those, if people, you know, you can go to a place where people don't look at you funny when you say you really like having all your Swiss Army knives, or all your knives in general. So I'm going to put a link down below to a member in Blade Forums that will customize your A-locks or standard handled Swiss Army knives for what I understand to be a reasonable cost. I have not used him. I love all of his work. I've never heard anything bad about him. I've gone through all of his feedback. It's all been positive. He'll anodize it. He'll put new scales. He'll anodize your scales. He'll put new tools in. He'll put do a full titanium conversion where everything on the knife except for the tools are titanium. Just really cool stuff. So put a link down below to that. Also put a link to the Amazon page that I found the two specs I did throw out, the size and weight, as well as the best price I found just from a cursory search in the link down below. So great EDC knife, great woods knife, great all around, just absolutely wonderful pocket knife. I love the pattern, I love the construction. Victorinox has great fit and finish. I mean, overall, it's one of the best knives I own. It's one of my favorites, and I think everyone should own one. So, there you go.